Okay, so on this question, we have some fractions. Let me bring it down here. P plus 80 over P equals 18. Okay, so we have an equal sign, so let me put in the wall separation. These are rationals, meaning there's fractions with an equal sign. So how do we solve rationals with an equal sign? Well, step number one is you multiply all the terms, left and right, by the LCD over 1. The LCD, and what is the LCD? Well, the LCD is one of every denominator item. One of every denominator item. So I'm going to come in and say, everything, I'm going to take one of everything. Well, in this problem, we have only got one thing under a bar, just that single P, right? That's the only fraction. So that's the only denominator item. So that's all we use. So I'm just going to go P, it's going to multiply by P over 1, and P. So that makes sense. But you got to do all the terms. That's a common mistake some students make. They don't do all the terms left and right. You got to do all the terms left and right by the LCD over 1. I don't put it over 1 when it's not next to a fraction. You know, I just put the P there. And then step 2. Cross cancel. You know, anything in the top, you know, that means top and bottom, right? We cancel top and bottom. And then multiply whatever's left over, multiply the leftovers, right? Cross cancel, multiply the leftovers. So that means right here, these P's will cancel, and I'll bring down the 80. These P's multiply. And this is 18P. Does that make sense what happened? Common mistake people make is they'll cancel these P's, but that's wrong. Neither one of those is under a bar, huh? You only cancel things under the bar with things above the bar, like right here in the middle. But these other guys multiply, don't they? One more time, you only cancel things above the bar with things below the bar. We know that. That's dividing, right? A fraction bar is dividing. They divide. So the P's in the middle divide, but all the other ones multiply, right? So then we get to here. What do we do with this? This is weird looking. Well, maybe it's been a little while. Whenever you have a P squared or X squared, whatever, with an equal sign, remember what you do? You might be thinking, no, I don't remember. Get a 0 on one side. Your first order of business is to get a 0 on one side. So I've got to subtract, whoops, got a scribbly there. Subtract 18P from both sides. This will cancel out, and that'll put 0 over there. What do we have on the other side? P squared. Put the 18P in the middle, because we always want these in order, right? From highest power to lowest, P squared P, no P. Not making sense? P squared P, no P. So put the minus 18P in the middle. See what I did? I made a 0. So when P squared or X squared suddenly shows up, we've done this before, but I know it's been a chapter or two. Might be a little rusty for you. When X squared shows up all of a sudden, step number 1, you've got to get a 0 on one side. And then, well, okay, then what? Then factor, you know, like with the 2 parenthesis kind of thing, equals 0. Remember this coming back? 2 parentheses equals 0. So that's P in the front, P in the front. Remember this? We're talking multiply, add, multiply. Remember what multiplies to be 80? Well, 8 times 10, huh? But how do you know it's not 4 times 20 or other things? 5 times 16. Well, because 8 and 10, if you make them both negative, they'll add to be minus 18 in the middle, won't they? So that's my pair, right? My 2 negatives multiply to be positive, and they add to be negative 18. And then you remember what we do from there? Again, you might still be saying, no, I don't. Each part equals 0 and solve. So you set each one equal to 0 separately. Remember that? Why is that? Because if two things are multiplying, right? Parentheses mean multiply, don't they? If two things are multiplying to equal 0, what does that mean? Either one could be 0, right? If I say I'm taking the two numbers and I'm timesing them, it's coming out 0. Either one could be 0, right? Two things multiply to be 0 means either number could be 0. So the first one could be 0 or the second one could be 0. And then you just solve it from there. Add 8 to both sides. Boom. P is 8 or add 10 to both sides. Oops. And scribbly there. Boom. P is 8 or P is 10. So they're both possible answers, 8 or 10. So you put them in with a comma like that, 8, 10. You put the 10 first and the 8. The order doesn't matter. You got to give both answers separated by a comma. 8 and 10 are the two answers to that problem. There's actually two possible answers that will make that true. By the way, are you interested? We can see it's true. If we put in 8 in both cases, watch, it makes the equation true. What is this? 8. Whoops, I'm getting scribbly there. My pen just went crazy. 8 plus, so what is 80 divided by 8? 10. Sure enough, that equals 18, doesn't it? Well, okay, that worked. What about if instead we put in the other number? What if we put in the 10? Right, because we're saying 10 is an answer. Is that right? Yeah, what 10 plus, and what's 80 divided by 10? 8. Sure enough, that's 18. See how they both work? They both make the equation true, don't they? You don't have to check that. I'm just showing you it's right. We're finding the truth. Those are both answers to make it true. And there we go.